Hi, I'm Matt Babcock of Babcock Hoops. Last week, I updated our NBA mock draft, and I asked some of our friends and followers to send some of their draft-related questions. So here we are. Let's kick it off with Carson from Atlanta.
Hey Matt, quick question regarding the Atlanta Hawks draft. So, who do you think currently on the board would best fit the team? So far on our team we have Trey Young, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Kevin Herter. Those are the players that I'd say are our top five. Which player currently in the draft would best fit our team?
Hey, Carson. Thanks for the question. First off, I find it to be interesting that you do not have Clint Capella in the top five for the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with you, but a lot of people have been critical on some of my picks with Atlanta because I've had either James Wiseman or Onyeka Okongwu going to the Hawks on a number of our updated mock drafts recently. And sort of my thought process there is, although I do like Capella, and he does have a big contract, which needs to be taken into consideration. I think his stats were a little bit inflated being in the Houston Rockets system, and he's a good player. But I'm really high on Wiseman and Okongwu. I would say Wiseman has a slight edge for me over Okongwu just due to his size and fluidity as the athlete. I think it's a unique combination, but Okongwu is right there too, and I think either of these players, could be the defensive anchor that the Hawks need. While also being able to add another scoring punch, and guys that I think can get some decent amount of offense without a whole lot of plays run for them, and just kind of getting some action within the flow of the game. But yeah, no, I would like to see the Hawks go with a big man if they have the opportunity to do that. And depending on where they're picking, they could feel the pressure of taking Anthony Edwards, a local guy from Atlanta that's probably got the most upside in the draft. I would be somewhat concerned how Trey Young and Anthony Edwards could coexist, both being ball dominant perimeter players, but I mean, that upside would be hard to turn down. And I'm sure, many folks in Atlanta would like to see Edwards stay close to home, but my vote would be the Hawks go big.
Hello, my name is Kuzey Kılıç. I am from Turkey, international scout, and I am editor-in-chief from Eurosport Turkey. My question is, which teams are the best fit for Deni Avdija, Leandro Bolmaro, Aleksej Pokusevski, Theo Maledon, and Killian Hayes, and why? Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Hey, Kuzi, thanks for reaching out. I hope you're doing well out there in Turkey. To answer your question, the first two guys that I see on this list is clearly going to be Deni Avdija and Killian Hayes. Both players are extremely versatile. I think Deni can play the 3 or the 4. He's a point forward. He can be plugged into a bunch of different spots. I think teams that come to mind that would make sense for him, depending on the draft order, Cleveland, Minnesota, New York, Chicago. And then with Killian, I could see Detroit, New York, Chicago. If Phoenix were to be high enough to take him, those teams could use a point guard. And although Killian is capable of playing off the ball, I like him as a primary point guard first and foremost. And then with Aleksej Pokusevski, I think he's a solid first-round pick. I think his range is somewhat wide because he does have upside. It's a little bit of a different situation with him, though, as he's more of a long-term prospect. I don't see him being ready to play major minutes in the NBA for at least a year or two. His body needs some developing, but he is so skilled for a 7-footer. So I mean, he could go as high as late lottery, or more of a guy that goes in the 20s or the late first. And really, I think any team could take a look at him because with him not being a guy that's probably going to be an imminent role guy for a team, he could be plugged in anywhere because he's a long-term project. Leandro Bolmaro, I think he is ready to play, but he's extremely versatile. I mean, he can play the 1, 2, or 3, and so I mean, he really could be plugged into a bunch of different places. If I were to bet on it, I think his likely spot will probably be in the late teens, early 20s. Denver, Milwaukee are a couple teams that I think could make some sense. And Theo Maledon, has slipped for us a little bit. I think it's more of the fact that other players have moved up. But he, another versatile guy. He can play on the ball, off the ball. I think a team, picking the late teens, early 20s, late 20s, could get a good value pick out of Maledon. I think Utah, Oklahoma City, Miami, Denver. I mean, those teams could take a hard look at him. But that whole group that you listed, I think all of them will be first-round picks.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Danny here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Got a question for you about the Indiana Pacers. With Victor Oladipo's health still being a question mark, they don't have a first-round draft pick this year. What are some things their front office is thinking about as far as ways they might still be able to improve the team this offseason?
Hey, Danny, that's a terrific question. So the Pacers are in an interesting situation. They're already over the cap, so they're not going to have a whole lot of flexibility to do much. Like you mentioned, they don't have a first-round pick. They do have a second-round pick. But in terms of the offseason, my approach, if I were them, would be, hey, let's look to get Oladipo healthy, which I think he should be. I don't see there being any long-term issues based on my understanding with that injury. And they've got a great core unit. With Brogdon, Oladipo, Sabonis, Miles Turner, they have a good team, and they had a good year even without Oladipo. And so I think the focus needs to be, all of their guys continue to improve. Hopefully you build off what you've already started and create even more continuity and synergy. And one thing that they're going to be watching closely is the salary cap. That's projected to be at $115 million. Obviously, it's been a crazy year. First starting with the whole China deal, and then with the pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty what that salary cap line is going to be. So I mean, if it were to dramatically lower, the Pacers could be in a tough spot where they'd be creeping up on the tax line, which would possibly hold them back from using their mid-level exception. And so, assuming that the cap does end up somewhere around $115 million, I do think the Pacers could add a decent player using a mid-level exception, but nothing major. I think it'd be more of a guy just to complement what they already have. And I do like where the Pacers are at, and I wouldn't expect any major moves this offseason.
Salute to Babcock Hoops. This is CP from the Knicks Fan TV here. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. My question is, the Knicks currently have the 27th pick, which belongs to the Clippers. It could change depending on how the Clippers finish the season. Who are some draft prospects from the 25 to 30 range that the Knicks should be taking a look at? Thanks a lot.
Hey, CP. I hope you're doing well. So first of all, the Knicks have three picks right now. So right now they're slotted to have the 6th pick, the 27th pick, and the 38th pick. In regards to that second first-round pick, I think a lot of it's going to be determined by who they take with that first pick. I think a few guys that they could take a look at. Right now I have them taking LaMelo Ball at 6, which I'm not real confident he'll get to that point in the draft, but the way this simulated draft order fell, if all those teams keep their picks and don't trade, I just had LaMelo slip in there. But LaMelo is definitely going to be hot on their list depending on where they're picking. Denny Avdia, Anthony Edwards, or a couple other guys. And so, with LaMelo, going with that 6th pick in this specific mock draft, I had them taking Tyrese Maxey at 27. And, a lot of people, I'm sure, are up in arms that I have Maxey slipping that far. But if he is there and they do take LaMelo with that first pick, I like that pairing. I see Tyrese Maxey as an undersized shooting guard. That's a good versatile defender, just tough kid. That would be a nice match with LaMelo. LaMelo's a big point guard that isn't very good defensively. They would probably fit well together. And with that second round pick, I currently have them taking Tyler Bay from Colorado. Undersized power forward. That's big time athlete, versatile defender. So in this case, it's them adding 3 different guys that they don't really have in their system right now. So it's going to be an interesting draft night for the Knicks. Whether they keep all those picks or not, we'll see. But I think they could go in a number of different directions.
So, Matt, I saw you had Isaiah Stewart at number 9 on your latest mock draft. So between my board and yours, that's probably one of the bigger disparities. So I just want to know, what role do you see Isaiah Stewart playing on both ends of the floor that you can see him returning top 10 value?
Hey, Jake. Thanks for your question. It's funny. I saw your name and the question come through, and I knew you'd give me a good one, and you didn't disappoint. It's been interesting with Isaiah Stewart all year long. I mean, there's been a pretty significant discrepancy in how much I value him, and then some of the other people, within the media, and a few thoughts come to mind of why there's such a big discrepancy. The first thing is, I'm just not completely on board with the idea that the big man's dead. It's still one of 5 players on the floor. And then there's big men that are more productive than others. And I think Isaiah Stewart's got translatable skills. Granted, at Washington he was used as a banger, low post scorer, and the college game is a lot different than the NBA game now. I fully understand that, and he'll need to adapt. But I still see there being value in a guy, with his level of physicality and motor. And I think the low post skills are still going to be effective. Granted, there's not as many ISO situations as there used to be, but within the flow of the game, I mean, if you're getting buckets around the rim, you still need to use moves, counter moves, physicality, and have a good finishing ability around the rim. And I think Isaiah is going to be able to still be effective as a scorer, just probably a little bit more in the flow of the game. Another part of it is, I've got trust in his outside shooting. He shot 77% from the free throw line. He was used primarily as a low post scorer at Washington, but I've seen him shoot the ball really well in different high school events. And I think he is going to be able to stretch the floor, which is a valuable thing for the way the game's played right now, especially for a guy, that's going to do some of the blue collar big man work, just being physical, around the ball, off the ball, within the game. I mean, just a guy that plays hard, that's that tough and physical, there's value there. And the last thing, and I think this is a big difference with my evaluation, and then some people that maybe don't have the same amount of access I do, is the intel work. Isaiah Stewart, the background checks on him, the intel, the information that we've gathered, it's top notch. And so my confidence level that Stewart's going to succeed is really high. And I currently have him at 9 going to Washington. I do think, and I'll admit, that is extremely on his high side. I spoke to his agent last week, and he agreed that was on his high side. But we both feel, his range is somewhere around 10 to 20, which is a pretty big, pretty big range. But I see that second tier of guys. There being a lot of parity, and teams sort of looking at the guys that they could plug in. And I did consider Devin Vassell and who was the other guy, Aaron Nesmith, for that Washington pick. But I decided to go with Stewart. So we'll see how it works. Maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong. But I do have a high confidence level in Stewart, and I just think he's going to succeed. So take that for whatever it's worth.